Doctor exposes a sinister secret during autopsy of a haunted 12-year-old boy. What was discovered? The fluorescent lights flickered ominously in the morgue, casting sharp shadows that danced across the cold, stainless steel table. Dr. Evelyn Marks, a forensic pathologist known for her compassion, felt a shiver skitter down her spine. Tonight felt wrong, like the air itself buzzed with dark energy. The darkened corridors of Millwood Memorial Hospital echoed her unease as she prepared for the night shift, a heavy dread settling in her gut. The call came shortly after dusk. A 12-year-old boy named Ethan had been found dead under mysterious circumstances. Millwood had seen tragedy before, but this was different. A death wrapped in silence, like a secret too terrible to bear. Evelyn's heart sank as she pulled the sheet back from Ethan's frail body. There were scars, strange symbols carved into his skin, weaving a web of horror that gripped her insides. Each etching seemed to pulse with a sinister allure, and a cold breeze swirled around her, carrying echoes that whispered her name. Dr. Marks. The whispers tangled around her thoughts. Initially, she chalked it up to exhaustion, a result of too many late nights. But tonight was different. The sounds curled around her mind like tendrils of smoke, gnawing at her resolve. The legends of Millwood flared to life, a children's ghost tale spoken in hushed tones, woven into the very fabric of the town. Baker Street's ominous turns, the old well that had swallowed small boys' whole stories, passed over like stale bread. She worked mechanically, trying to stay focused, while the symbols on Ethan's skin seemed to tell a story of their own. Each time her scalpel brushed against the cold flesh, the voices grew louder, more insistent. A layer of sweat beaded on her brow as the temperature plummeted, locking her in a chilling grip. Just as she felt a knot twist inside her, the lights flickered again, and in that brief moment of darkness, she sensed a presence, something sinister lurking just beyond her line of sight. Mom. Her daughter's name was a mantra on her lips, fueling both her fear and determination. Evelyn fought against the dark thoughts that swirled around her. The words spiraled back to familiar faces, the neighbors' indifferent glances, the town council's suffocating hold over the community, whispers of rituals meant to sustain prosperity by fetching shadows from the beyond. Suddenly, the door creaked open, a sound like fingers scratching against a chalkboard. The officer stepped inside, his face a mask of calm, though his eyes gleamed with something wicked, like shards of glass in the moonlight. "Dr. Marks," he intoned, his voice smooth yet chilling, "you should tread carefully. Some things are better left buried." The words echoed in her mind, the weight of a threat that left her breathless. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reaching. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Evelyn's heart raced as he stepped closer, the stench of his cologne mingling with the scent of death in the room. The walls curled in, volatile tension buzzing in the air. "You're digging too deep, Dr. Marks," he insinuated, a smile creeping over his face, sharp and knowing. Yet, Ethan's body lay before her, begging for justice. With every pulse of her racing heart, the whispers crescendoed into a deafening plea. The question loomed heavy in the air: how many more innocent lives would be claimed by Millwood's undying secrets? What horrors lay hidden beneath the surface, threatening to emerge? Evelyn's breath caught in her throat as the officer pressed closer, a predator closing in on its prey. The room felt smaller, the very air thickening around her. She wanted to scream, to shove him aside and reveal the truth lurking on the table. But the words stuck, heavy and poisoned in her mouth. "What do you mean?" she managed to croak, battling the surge of panic strangling her voice. The officer leaned in, his breath hot and pungent. "Ethan wasn't just any boy," he whispered, the taint of menace somehow more palpable than the sterile odors of the morgue. "He was a burden, a vessel for something unspeakable." A flicker of doubt surged in her mind. His words played like a dark melody, enticements leading her toward the edge of madness. Was she really prepared to unearth whatever sinister force consumed this town? No, she inhaled sharply, shaking off the dread that threatened to envelop her. I have to know what happened to him. If these symbols mean something, then it's my duty to figure it out. For the first time, the officer's smile faltered. You'll ruin us all. Before she could reply, the lights dimmed to near darkness. Shadows morphed and twisted along the opposing wall as if beckoning her, but they kept their secrets close. A distant voice, a whisper that seemingly originated from the symbols carved into Ethan's skin, swirled in the stillness, echoing in the depths of her mind. Help us! Evelyn shivered, every hair on her arm standing in stark attention. What do you want? She murmured, curiosity battling her fear. The officer stepped back, eyes widening in a way that hinted at his own buried terrors. It's not about what they want, Dr. Marks. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice to hear them. The weight of his words crushed her resolve. Sacrifice? What were they hiding? She darted her gaze down to Ethan's lifeless body, the faint glimmers of the symbols seeming more pronounced now as though begging her for recognition. Determined, she resumed her examination, bringing the scalpel to his skin once again. This time, a storm of emotion sparked within her: frustration, anger, desperation. The heaviness in the air grew palpably colder, and the whispers intensified until they became a cacophony, entangling her thoughts, urging her to listen closely. The air crackled with energy. Suddenly, the lights fizzled out completely, plunging the room into suffocating darkness. Dr. Marks, a voice coiled around her, sharp and chilling. She couldn't tell if it was the officer or something darker lurking in the shadows. Evelyn's hands trembled, her instincts screaming for her to flee. But she couldn't move. She couldn't retreat now, not when she was so close. Get out while you can. The officer boomed, piercing the oppressive silence. But it was too late. The whispering grew urgent, almost frantic, and the symbols on Ethan's skin began to glow, a faint, eerie light pulsating in sync with her racing heartbeat. She felt something inside her unravel, truths awakening like monsters clawing from the depths. What have I done? Fear snaked its way through her veins as realization dawned. She'd opened a door, and whatever lay beyond was far worse than she'd anticipated. Then, a familiar voice broke through the maelstrom, sharp and clear. Mom, help me. Evelyn's heart shattered. The whispers crescendoed, and with one final, thunderous roar, the lights flickered back on, revealing something horrifying that stood where Ethan once lay. What she saw shook her to her core, a mirror image of her daughter, Kelly, her eyes wide with terror, trapped in a web of shadows. Mom, I need you. The figure cried, and Evelyn's blood ran cold as she realized that the true secret of Millwood had now come to claim her, clawing from beyond the grave. What terrible pact had she stumbled upon? And if she didn't find the answers soon, would she lose Kelly forever? Panic surged within Evelyn as the shimmering shadows danced around the figure of her daughter. The room pulsed with a sinister energy, amplifying every fear that had ever plagued her. She couldn't breathe. Kelly. Evelyn gasped, stepping instinctively closer, but a force cold and unyielding held her back. The officer's hand gripped her arm firmly, his expression stark with terror. Don't! He shouted. You can't touch her. What did he mean? Kelly was right there, sobbing, the shadows reaching out for her. Evelyn's heart raced like a caged bird. The whispers that had once been muffled now erupted into a deafening roar, drowning out rational thought. Mom! The girl's pleading voice echoed off the sterile walls. You have to help me. Please. Evelyn tightened her grip on the scalpel, its cold steel a reminder of her authority as a doctor. She felt a flicker of hope pierce through the overwhelming darkness. She could save her daughter. But that spark of hope flickered dangerously, overshadowed by the officer's warning. They're not your family anymore, Evelyn, he insisted, his voice low and urgent. Whatever is happening here, it wants you to make a choice. Don't fall for it. But the desperation in Kelly's eyes held Evelyn captive, her resolve wavering. "I'm coming for you, sweetheart." "No." The officer's voice shot through the air like a bullet. "You'll just pull them in." Suddenly, the shadows slithered closer to Kelly, wrapping around her tiny frame like tendrils of smoke. A chorus of whispers swarmed, a chilling chant that twisted Evelyn's heart. Help us, help us! Evelyn's body felt paralyzed, torn between her duty as a mother and the terror of what was unfolding before her. What had she unearthed? She could feel the past pulling at her, dragging her down a rabbit hole of ancient secrets and curses. The symbols etched into Ethan's skin pulsed, almost mocking her. "Evelyn." Kelly's voice broke through the haze, clear and critical. "Mom. You have to remember." The message hit her like a bloody hammer. Memories flashed, hidden warnings from townsfolk, stories her mother used to tell. Long before Kelly was born, her family had a history with dark forces, buried deep among the roots of Millwood. "Wake up," the officer hissed, drawing her attention away from her daughter. "You don't know what they're offering. It's a trap. This isn't your daughter." He was right. In that moment of clarity, the realization pierced through her fog of doubt. The figure before her, though perhaps shaped like Kelly, was morphed by the shadows. "No." Evelyn fought against the force that gripped her, determination igniting. "You're not taking her." But as she lunged forward, the shadows intensified, swirling violently. Kelly's eyes widened in fear, and in an instant, the darkness enveloped her entirely. A scream ripped through the air, echoing off the walls, and Evelyn froze. "Mom!" Then silence, the lights flickered again, intermittently illuminating a scene she dreaded. Where her daughter had been standing was now just a void, empty except for the symbol's ghastly glow. "Find us, Dr. Marks," the twisted shadows whispered, now creeping toward her like a predatory force. "Find us." The officer released her arm, stepping back as horror scratched across his face. "You have to choose, Evelyn. Either you let them consume you, or you fight back." But how? She felt lost beneath the weight of the darkness closing in. Fear clawed at her heart, and she gripped the scalpel tightly, feeling its sharpness bite into her palm. "Who or what are you?" Evelyn cried against the enveloping shadows, desperate for answers in the dim light. Then the room shook slightly, a low rumble echoing through the ground beneath her feet, as the whispering shadows beckoned. The symbols flared brighter, and Evelyn braced for what was coming next. As the shadows surged forward, energy coursed through her, igniting something deep within. Could she turn the tide? Was the only escape through this turmoil? But something told her that every truth discovered would come at a price. "Mom!" echoed Kelly's voice one final time. Lingering in the air as the walls themselves began to strain underneath the tension. What would be her sacrifice to save the one she loved? The abyss before her was wide and dark, threatening to swallow everything she held dear. And as the shadows lunged, Evelyn had to decide, face the darkness or plunge into the unknown. What would you choose? Evelyn's heart pounded like a war drum as the shadows writhed around her. The air crackled with electricity, each whisper a dagger in her mind. "Find us." It was a demand. A taunt. She glanced at the officer, his face pale, eyes wide. "What am I supposed to do?" she hissed. "Get ready to fight," he said. "You have to confront them. They thrive on fear." But how could she fight something she couldn't understand? The shadows undulated, a living creature, feeding off her uncertainty. She could feel it, like icy fingers tracing down her spine. Kelly was gone. The thought clenched tightly around her heart. "Kelly!" she screamed, not knowing if her daughter could hear her or if she even existed anymore in this realm twisted by darkness. The officer stepped back, scanning the room, as if expecting something monstrous to emerge. "We can't back down," he muttered. "Even in the face of this." Evelyn's grip on the scalpel strained her fingers, blood pooling where the metal dug deep. "What if it's a trap?" she whispered, the reality finally dawning on her that this could have been some malevolent act drawing her in. Then it's a trap we have to break. His eyes locked on hers, fiercer now. You have to use their energy against them. It's the only shot we've got. For a split second, clarity flooded her mind. The symbols etched into Ethan's skin had to mean something. She could feel them pulsating, a rhythm that synced with her heartbeats. The darkness wasn't just an entity, it was a tapestry of lost souls, endless torment, and the promise of more. Listen to the whispers. The officer urged. They'll betray themselves. Evelyn closed her eyes, allowing herself to sink into the cacophony. What do you want? She said, voice trembling yet defiant. What are you? A sudden rush of wind swept through the room. It howled, slicing through the stagnant air, bringing with it the stench of decay and despair. Then, eerily, the darkness receded just a fraction, revealing outlines of faces trapped within. Their mouths moved, but no sound emerged, just those haunting expressions, frozen in agony. Help us, they mouthed, their agony palpable, pulling at the threads of her compassion. Evelyn grunted, her thoughts spiraling wildly. Why should I? She shot back. What did you do to my daughter? But their dark expressions changed. A laugh, low and gravelly, echoed off the walls. Not your daughter's fate, her birthright. The shadows thickened again, like quicksand around her feet, whispering deceit. She opened her eyes, her breath shallow. Each syllable crawled under her skin, igniting rage within her. No more. I refuse. The scalpel felt warm now, pulsing in her palm. You think you're safe, hiding behind this power? Another voice hissed amidst the whispers. You don't even know what you're capable of. Evelyn clutched the blade tighter, a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. I might not know everything, but I know you're lying. Just then, fractions of memory slipped back, the tales her mother had shared, whispering against the backdrop of an old family secret, dark truths buried alongside the town's history. The room shuddered violently, shadows swirling, and she felt their collective confusion. You're afraid, she said slowly. You fear the light. With newfound determination, Evelyn lunged forward into the darkness, raising the scalpel and imagining each symbol etched into her family's past. She had to and would harness it. Leave my daughter alone. She cried, plunging her blade into the void, aiming at the unseen core of their power. It plunged deeper, and instantly, the shadows screamed. In that chaos, she glimpsed an opening, an outlet she could use, could channel. The air felt heavier, electric. But as she pushed forward, something pulled her back, as if 1,000 arms wrapped around her. You're in over your head, a whisper coiled around her, more insidious than before. You can't save them all. Suddenly, a chilling realization hit her. There was more at stake than just Kelly's safety. Something darker loomed, intertwining their fates, and as a final burst of energy crackled around them, Evelyn understood, the fight was only just beginning, and whatever entity awaited on the other side wouldn't relent easily. Mom. She heard faintly, echoing, teasing, and forcing her to remember what was lost. But the shadows enveloped her, and the chilling question remained: what price would she have to pay to uncover the truth? Evelyn's scream sliced through the darkness like a knife, desperation fueling her need to fight back. The shadows writhed with fury, their whispers turning into a frenzied cacophony, echoing her fear and mingling it with their own. Help us, they clamored, their voices a twisted mockery of her daughter's. But the plea turned her stomach. No. You're nothing but lies. She shouted defiantly, her grip tightening around the scalpel, feeling its heat spread through her fingers. She stepped harder into the gloom, determined to pierce deeper into the heart of the shadows. The air shimmered around her, heavier now, charged with electric tension. She could almost hear the distorted formation of memories swirling in the darkness, a tapestry of horrors waiting to overwhelm her. Evelyn took a steadying breath, trying to recall the tales of her family, those whispers that had grown up alongside her stories meant to warn her. Evelyn, the officer's voice broke through her thoughts, barely audible but persistent, like a lighthouse in a storm. Focus. You're drawing them closer. She felt the shadows shift, their energy pooling like a thick fog around her feet, rising steadily to her knees. If she were to confront whatever lived in this abyss, she needed to make the shadows afraid. Remembering her mother's stories, she shouted again, "You fear the light. I will expose you for what you are." The room convulsed, shadows roaring as resentment lit within them, their angry cries twisting and turning. They surged forward, images of twisted faces, mouths frozen in agony, clawed hands reaching out for her. A horrifying vision of Kelly wired into a complex of shadows flashed before her eyes, and anguish ripped through her. "Mom!" The cry echoed once more, softer this time, but laced with pain. The officer looked frantic, a bead of sweat racing down his brow, hot against the freezing air. "You need to fight, Evelyn. You have to embrace the light within you." Where was their light? Was it in her heart, pulsing along with her panic? Her body trembled, pushing the scalpel forward. "I want to let you take her." The shadows shrieked louder, a banshee wail that reverberated through the room. They rearranged themselves, forming a taunting sequence of grotesque figures, attempting to draw her in. "Not just her, your legacy. It belongs to us. You cannot escape." With each revelation, her fear morphed into anger. The scalpel vibrated as if it was alive, guiding her deeper into the depths of despair. "You think I care about your games? You're nothing but echoes." She roared, picturing every symbol, every story, weaving a shield around her heart. And then darkness lashed out, sending a wave of cold through her bones. A massive shadow loomed, sharp and menacing, forming a figure that was both familiar and horrific, casting an immense weight on her chest. "Evelyn, my child," it called. "Why do you fight destiny?" "Because I refuse to be your pawn." She cried, forcing herself forward, launching the blade deeper into the writhing specter before her. The moment the scalpel made contact, a blinding light burst from it, exploding outward like a fiery sun. The shadows convulsed and howled, pulling away as if burned. They revealed the ghostly outline of her daughter trapped within their grasp, entangled with the malevolent force that kept cascading around them. Time slowed, allowing Evelyn a fleeting glimpse of Kelly's terrified face as the shadows tugged at her essence. "Mom, help me." Kelly's voice was barely a whisper, lost in the roar of shadows. But it was a lifeline, her beacon in the chaos in that instant, clarity struck Evelyn. She had to break the cycle, not just for Kelly, but for the souls entwined within the dark. She breathed, channeling every pulse of fear and fury into her strike. "This ends now." As she plunged the scalpel deeper, the light exploded outward again. But something new emerged, a shadow deeper and darker, like a heart of the night itself. It coiled around her, a treacherous wind swirling with its own hunger. "Foolish child," a voice boomed, spitting venom. "You think you understand your power? You will pay dearly." With a scream that echoed infinitely, Evelyn felt the ground beneath her shift. She was losing her footing, the darkness pulling her down, threatening to consume her very essence, and then, the flicker of a memory, a flash of a sun-drenched field, laughter, and Kelly running toward her, arms outstretched. "Mom!" But as Evelyn's own scream entwined with her daughter's call, the shadows roared back, and she was left questioning, was it too late? One thought consumed her as the darkness closed in again: how far would she go to save her child? As the light fought desperately against the shadows, the air thickened with dread. Shadows circled tighter, whispering insidious secrets, and somewhere, deep within, something began to stir. Evelyn was swept into the void, her surroundings folding in on themselves like a cheap magic trick gone wrong. The shadows cast a grip so tight that she felt like she was suffocating, each breath a battle against the dark, clamoring for her sanity. The voice boomed again, more sinister now, wrapping around her consciousness. "You seek to shine a light, yet you are blinded by your own ignorance. Come, join us in eternal night." Cold sweat trickled down her spine, her heart racing painfully, each beat drumming a desperate rhythm. She wanted to scream, to claw her way back to the surface, but the inkiness pulled at her feet, tying her to the darkness. Evelyn gritted her teeth, focusing on the sliver of light she had felt when her scalpel made contact. No! She howled, forcefully grasping at the tingling warmth that blossomed within her chest. You don't control me. I will not become part of you. With that, she plunged the scalpel into the ground, and another eruption illuminated the shadows. Bursting forth, the light pushed back against them, revealing writhing forms cloaked in malice. They recoiled, hissing like mist meeting flame, revealing their grotesque, contorted features. A parade of the damned, each one wore a face she recognized. A neighborhood child missing for decades. A grandmother, her brow furrowed in disapproval. Friends, family that had once filled holidays with joy now transformed into twisted echoes of despair. Help us, Evelyn, they implored, voices a chilling chorus. Release us from this torment. No. She panted, anger surging, fueling the light. I want to do this. I want to set you free to drag others into this hell. The shadows shrieked, a deafening wail that vibrated her bones, their fury magnifying with each shout of defiance she unleashed. Evelyn took one step back, trying to find a way through the chaos. The darkness surged forward again, a howling tide, eager to snuff out her hope and reclaim what they deemed theirs, but the stinging light began to merge with Evelyn, feeding her fragile spirit. It flowed through her veins, pulsing. I can do this. She repeated like a mantra, shoving back memories of doubt. Then she spotted Kelly in the pit of shadows, lips trembling, eyes wide with terror. Before she could reach out, another figure emerged from the gloom, taller, more sinister. It was a shadow heavy with intention, an embodiment of every fear she had ever faced. You think light can save you? This is your legacy, your fate. The voice resonated deeply, raw, wrapping around Evelyn like a vice. Not if I can help it. With every ounce of strength, she summoned that burgeoning light, the scalpel now almost ablaze in her hand, stark against the consuming dark. She lunged toward Kelly, willing the power within her to spill forward. Mom! I'm scared. Kelly's voice echoed, raw and terrified, sending shards of ice prickling through Evelyn's resolve. Hold on, baby. I'm coming. Charging straight into the heart of chaos, Evelyn felt the breath of shadows nip at her heels. The scalpel gleamed, and as she swung it forward, the light exploded again. But the malevolent figure enveloped her, coiling like a serpent before dissipating, leaving only chaos behind. The room shook, and the walls began to tremble. A voice seeped into the cracks of her mind, dripping with venom. You will never escape this nightmare. We are your past and we will corrupt your future. Evelyn stumbled, struggling against the pull of despair. The shadows formed a grotesque tapestry around her, twisting together, mocking her resolve. She could feel them digging into her memories, forcing their way into her mind. Suddenly, a chilling realization gripped her heart. This wasn't just about saving Kelly, this was about her, too. As the shadows clawed at the edges, she stood firm, cradling the light. Your lies won't consume me. She shouted, determination bleeding into her voice. For every soul wrapped in the suffocating dark, she had to fight harder. But amid her resolve, the shadows began to whisper something terrifying, a revelation that sent cold tendrils of fear curling in her gut. You think you're saving them, but what if it's you who needs saving? A violent shudder rumbled through the air, and Evelyn felt the foundations of her sanity begin to crack. The light flickered, desperate but resilient, but even the strongest fire could be snuffed out. As memories swirled, distorting reality, she knew she had to act fast. Whoever these shadows were, something darker stirred within, something that wasn't just eager to consume her but also forge a new horror. Evelyn gulped in a shaky breath. Was she strong enough? Was there a chance, a glimmer? Time was running out, and the abyss around her pulsed with sinister anticipation. What are they waiting for? She thought. What's their endgame? What will they unleash on the world once they reclaim their place? Tension hung in the air like a heavy fog, but there was no turning back now. She could only move forward, dangerously chasing the light toward an uncertain future filled with all-consuming shades, desperately hoping that the truth would not be her undoing, and as she took her next step, the question echoed in her mind, was this truly just the beginning? Evelyn pushed forward, the light flickering dully around her. Each step felt like wading through molasses, the shadows biting, nipping at her ankles like rabid dogs eager to drag her down. The faces of the lost swirled in her vision, their mouths a silent scream. Had they ever known peace? Or only this endless cycle of despair? Mom! Kelly's voice cut through the darkness, sharp as glass. Evelyn's heart lurched, a raw pulse that screamed for urgency. She whipped her head around, desperation flooding her veins. "Stay close, Kelly!" she yelled, but the words felt thin, a paper-thin barrier against the encroaching darkness. The shadows hissed like enraged serpents, hungry for her slip, then the ground trembled beneath her feet, an ominous rumble that twisted her stomach into knots. The darkness shifted, and with it, the forms began to ripple. A collective swarm of agony rose, arms stretching, fingers clawing toward her as if to pull her into the depths. "Your daughter belongs to us." They howled, and each whisper rattled Evelyn's bones. She turned, heart slamming like a hammer against her ribcage. The shadows stirred with malevolence, an angry sea of sorrow threatening to drown her. "No." Evelyn squeezed the scalpel tighter, glaring at the gathering tide. "You want to take her. You have no claim over us." The shadows receded slightly at her declaration, teetering as if momentarily thrown off balance. This tiny victory fueled her fire, solidifying her resolve. She could not lose her daughter, the thought coiling like a serpent in her mind drove her forward, deeper into the fray. "Hold on, just a little longer," she shouted through gritted teeth, glowing currents of light pooling around her in a vibrant halo. It pulsed, slower now, but steadily, holding at bay the monstrous specters that threatened to envelop her, and then an unfamiliar voice, smooth and soothing, echoed above the chaos. "Remember, Evelyn, every light casts a shadow." As she looked around, the charm of light began to falter, billowing with the gentle breeze that swept in from nowhere. It was cold, so cold, weaving through her, intertwining her very essence with the shadows. "What is happening?" Her mind screamed. Suddenly, the light focused into a blinding beam, illuminating a distant figure, a silhouette wrapped in mystery, holding a pendant that appeared to glow in a sickly green hue. The figure moved with an eerie grace, showing just enough of a face for Evelyn to recognize the torment flickering within its depths. "Come closer, I can help you both," it said simply, voice almost inviting. But with every step it took toward them, the shadows writhed harder, driven wild by the potential of freedom. Evelyn turned to Kelly, whose face reflected both fear and confusion. "Mom, who is that?" "I don't know," she stammered, eyes darting back to the harrowing figure, now only a few strides away. "Stay behind me." But the shadows surged forth, pulling Evelyn's attention. With growing dread, she felt tendrils of darkness creep along her skin, clammy and chill. For each ounce of light she held, it seemed the shadows grasped tighter, as if calculating her every breath. That a sinister laugh filled the air, echoing off unseen walls. "Join us, release your resentments, and you will understand what true power feels like." The pendulum of light swung precariously, she could sense it weakening under the weight of their solemn pleas and terrible, gritty history. With renewed urgency, Evelyn dragged her gaze back to her daughter. "Stick with me, Kelly. We are not alone in this." But even as she spoke, doubt crept in like a fog. Evelyn felt her vision blur, the edges of her reality beginning to fray. What if this wasn't just about fighting the shadows? What if there were truths buried deeper, truths she was terrified to uncover? "Get ready," she murmured, focusing all her energy on that flickering light. "We're about to find out what they're really after." A throbbing vibration echoed through her, and the shadows reacted. The screams of turmoil reached a deafening crescendo, a cacophony of wailing souls poised on the brink of resurgence. Every fiber of her being screamed to retreat, yet she stood firm, with a heart pounding like a drum of war, Evelyn faced the darkness again, ready for what would erupt next. She only hoped the lingering truth wouldn't tear her apart. Was this a battle for survival or something far worse that awaited them in the depths? The shadows coiled tighter around them, leaving her on the precipice of a discovery that might unleash hell. But one question loomed larger than any fear: what price would she pay to unveil the sinister truth hidden in the darkness? The shadows churned with rage, and Evelyn felt a shift in the air, as if the very fabric of reality was fraying. The disembodied voices swelled again, rising like a malicious tide, hatred and despair mingling into an unbearable cacophony. Evelyn. Kelly. The sinister tones drew closer, weaving their allure into her mind. You will never escape. You are ours. Shut up. You don't own us. She screamed, fighting back the creeping despair, but her voice trembled like a leaf caught in a storm. Her grip on the scalpel felt like a frail defense against Judgment Day. Just a few feet away, the figure in the sickly green light continued its gliding approach, each step resonating with a haunting grace. Though cloaked in shadow, its eyes glinted like polished glass, reflecting something predatory. Help? Or to be consumed? A twisted smile broke across its spectral face. Why not both? Resistance only deepens your suffering. Evelyn's breath quickened. Fear clawed at her gut. Together, they were fragile, but alone, she believed Kelly might be reached. You hear that, Kelly? She attempted to keep her voice steady. It's trying to play on our fears. Focus on me. Kelly remained at her side, but her wide eyes betrayed her. Mom, I can feel them, they're all around us. A sudden chill swept through, threatening to sap what remained of her strength. Evelyn glanced about as the shadows shifted, forming ghastly shapes, faces contorted in agony, reaching for warmth they could never have again. Your light will fail, just like all the others. The figure's voice grew smoother, like silk over ice. Come closer. I can take you somewhere better. The shadows lunged again, hungry and relentless. With every heartbeat, Evelyn could feel the darkness pulling, testing her resolve. Instinct yelled at her to run, to pull Kelly to safety, yet something deeper commanded her to stand firm, pushing against the encroaching tide. Look at that! She shouted, jerking her head to where the haunting figure hovered. You can't trust it. No one here wants to help us. In that moment of distraction, the shadows lunged, tendrils wrapping around her legs, anchoring her in place. Panic surged through her. Kelly! Run! But the command shattered against the air. Kelly was frozen in place, eyes wide, mouth twisted in horror. The girl clutched the edges of her shirt, fear radiating from her small body like a beacon. Let her go! Evelyn shrieked, carving her path with the scalpel, chopping through the illusions. Each cut released tiny bursts of light that flickered like dying stars against the consuming dark. You can't keep us. We're stronger than you. Another pulse of laughter erupted from the depths, echoing through the shadows. Strength, dear woman, is an illusion. Power lies in despair. It feeds us, gives us life. Join us, and you will understand freedom. The darkness began to constrict tighter, each breath becoming labored, each heartbeat synchronized with the frantic panic surging within her. Evelyn's vision blurred as the cold swarmed her frame, as if the essence of despair were physically choking her. Then, like a rough rippling of water, shadows recoiled, sudden panic spreading amongst them. The figure stepped closer, its voice now a hiss like venom. What did you do? I don't know. She yelled, confusion mixing with anger. What do you want from us? Something flickered in the figure's eye. Fear. It hesitated, glancing around, and then, in a flash, lunged forward, aiming for Kelly. No! Evelyn cried, slashing wildly with the scalpel and landing a powerful cut along the figure's arm. Instead of blood, pure darkness spilled forth, pooling around their feet in a grotesque display of sentient shadow. The thing screamed. Frantic, she grabbed Kelly and pulled her back, both heart and breath pounding. Keep moving, Kelly. We can't stop now. We can't be these things. Remember, we're alive. But a chilling realization dawned on her. The dark mass twisted on itself, forming into something larger, more dreadful than before, every face muttering with slithering hate. Foolish mortals, it snarled, its voice layered in malice. Your choice will seal your fates forever. Evelyn felt their collective dread amplifying, thrumming through her body like a heartbeat synced to a looming dread. The shadows writhed, slowly slipping toward her, coiling like serpents ready to strike, and in that moment, confronted by the encroaching horror, another question clawed at her mind: what price must be paid when the dance of light meets the darkness it fears? As a suffocating silence descended upon them, the air charged with electric hostility, she knew their choices would determine everything. Would they break free or fall forever into the depths of despair? The shadows twisted and shuddered as if reacting to her defiance, shimmering with an unsettling hunger. Evelyn could feel the pressure in the air, thick like a wet blanket, suffocating and heavy. She held Kelly tighter, her small frame trembling. "Stay close to me." Evelyn gasped, unsure if her voice could break through the darkness surrounding them, but the shadows only tightened their grip, each movement snapping with malevolent intent. Evelyn swung the scalpel again, desperately creating sparks of light around them. Each flicker of brightness was like a gasp for air, a fleeting hope against the encroaching void. "You play with fire, mother," the figure hissed, venom dripping from its words. "And soon you will burn." Evelyn's heart raced. "We won't burn. We're alive." She shouted back, clutching her daughter's hand as she felt the shadows tightening further, snaking around Kelly's ankles like cold iron chains. "Your light is nothing," the figure sneered. "I can show you the depths of despair. I can make you free." Kelly whimpered, eyes pooling with tears. Each shadow was a living thing, whispering promises of escape that only echoed with despair. "Mom! They're coming for me. Not if I can help it." Evelyn shouted, a surge of adrenaline pushing her through an overwhelming fear. She lunged forward, slicing through the nearest tendrils, each cut accompanied by a brief flare of brilliance that illuminated the distorted faces of the damned. With each slash, their moans grew ragged, filled with a desperation that chilled her soul, but just as the tendrils fell away, others surged forward, hungry and insatiable. Evelyn's strength waned, each breath harder to draw. Panic rose like bile, and the horror around her was pushing her closer to the edge. Then something shifted. A low growl resonated from the heart of darkness, vibrating through the ground. It was a warning or perhaps something worse. "Let her go," a voice echoed, deeper than the shadows, commanding and furious. Evelyn turned, searching desperately for the source, but only shadows met her eyes. "What do you want?" "Your sacrifice will free you both," the figure grinned, revealing rows of jagged teeth that glimmered in the green haze. "Just give someone up." For a fleeting moment, the shadows flickered, revealing faces of those long since lost to darkness: children, mothers, and men, all trapped in eternal torment. It was a haunting sight that clawed at Evelyn's heart. "No!" she screamed, feeling her own grip on sanity fray. "This is a trick. Don't listen." The shadows vibrated, an eerie resonance that twisted inside her skull. Sacrifice can lift the veil, just one must pay. Evelyn's mind raced. The shadows were trying to twist their bond, to create doubt. She couldn't lose Kelly. "You'll have to get through me first." Evelyn shouted defiantly, raising the scalpel high. But the creature laughed. "Such courage will only lead to despair, dear one. Do you remember how easily you succumbed last time?" A vision flashed before her past, the dark pit of loss, an ineffable silence that had swallowed her whole after her husband's death. Bitter tears of guilt mixed with terror, but she shoved it down. "I will not let you take her. I will not be like you." "Then choose," the creature hissed, shadows swirling, thickening in the air, drawing tighter around them. "Choose who will live and who will perish." Evelyn felt the shadows pulse, breathing darkness into her very being, and a fragment of despair wrestled within her. No, we can't be made to choose. But the figure only smiled wider, the darkness around it swirling with excited anticipation, and Evelyn's breathing deepened in terror. Choose now or lose everything, it whispered, the voices crescendoing into a frenzied pitch. Evelyn felt a cold chill seep into her bones. The decision loomed like a blade, poised above their heads. With impossibly quick thoughts racing through her mind, one question pierced through it all: would she allow the shadows to control their fate? The shadows lurched closer, hungry for a decision, a choice that could either save or damn them. Both in a final act of desperation. What would she choose to save? A moment of sacrifice, or a life bound to darkness? Evelyn's grip tightened around the scalpel as the shadows closed in, suffocating her with their wretched purpose. You think you can make me choose? You're nothing. Her voice pierced through the air, shaky yet defiant like a flare against the night. With the darkness swirling around them, it felt like the fabric of reality was ripping at the seams. Cold dread pooled in her stomach, a heavy anchor weighing her down, as the malevolent figure grinned wider, eyes gleaming with hunger and malice. Each breath felt like a theft, every heartbeat a fleeting reminder of what she had to lose. Then, a flicker of light caught her attention. Kelly. Her daughter was still there, tangled but not yet lost. Evelyn's heart swelled with determination. No one will take you from me. She lunged forward, slicing through the shadows in a desperate bid, pulsing light erupting from each cut. The shadows shrieked and recoiled, momentarily stunned by her courage. You want a sacrifice? You'll get the fight of your life instead. The oppressive weight of despair lightened, just for a moment. Maybe she could push back against the tide. The ethereal cries of the trapped souls echoed around her, morphing into a haunting chorus, each one layered with despair and regret. But Evelyn focused on her daughter's face, eyes brimming with tears, filled with both terror and unyielding love. I will not give in. She yelled, channeling every ounce of her strength. I choose to fight. For you. For every lost soul. The malevolent figure's snarl twisted into confusion, just for a heartbeat, a flicker in the storm of shadows. Evelyn seized the moment, plunging her scalpel deep into the murky ground, a final rallying cry forming in her throat. With shocking intensity, she pressed forward, drawing out the light she had felt within. Let light consume the darkness. She felt warmth pulse against her skin, a fire igniting in her heart tethered to every loving memory she held dear. The glow erupted, fierce and pure, slicing through the heavy air like a solar flare. The shadows recoiled, retreating and writhing as if burned by the blaze, the tortured faces twisting into agony. No. You cannot control what we are. The figure raged, but Evelyn's resolve only grew. Watch me. She shouted. And with every ounce of courage, she raised her scalpel skyward, stronger now. The shadows hissed, retreating, their whispers morphing into panicked cries, echoing rage and despair as their solid forms began to dissolve in the blazing light. Evelyn. Came a faint voice, her daughter's soft plea cutting through the chaos, fragile but unwavering. Mom, don't stop. That was it, the pulse of love coursed through her, tethering her to life. I will never stop fighting for you, Kelly. I love you. With one decisive thrust, she plunged the scalpel into the ground again, urging the light to consume those lost souls and annihilate the shadows that threatened to engulf them. The ground trembled as an explosion of white-hot energy shot skyward, illuminating every face once lost within the darkness. No. You'll pay for this. Bellowed the figure as the glorious light surged, and the shadows exploded outward like a bursting ziggurat, scattering like ash in the wind. Evelyn felt everything shift. The oppressive weight dissolved, and the room filled with an almost tangible riot of color. Light spilled everywhere, wrapping around her in healing warmth. The screams of anguish dissipated, replaced by echoes of relief, and within that moment, a bright vision of her daughter materialized. Mom! Kelly cried, breaking free from the murky remnants, relief washing over her as the shadows shattered away. They surged toward each other, colliding in a heartfelt embrace. "I thought I lost you," Evelyn cried, emotion flooding her. "I will never let anything hurt you again." In that embrace, a bond ignited a fierce love that no shadow could ever penetrate. They were together again, standing tall against the remnants of what they had overcome. The figure at the center of the chaos let out a final, anguished wail as the remnants of its power collapsed into the earth. Light pulsed, illuminating the remnants of shadows, sending them flickering away until only a thin haze remained. It was over. "Are we free?" Kelly whispered, glancing around the room, which now sparkled under the halo of refuge. "We are, sweetheart." "We are," Evelyn assured, kneeling down to look into her daughter's eyes. The warmth of their bond seeped through every cell in her body, affirming that love had triumphed over darkness, and in that moment, a sense of hope blossomed, brightening the corners of Millwood. Those lost souls now freed from the shadows drifted away toward the light, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of peace. With newfound strength propelling her forward, Evelyn took Kelly's hand, stepping away from the crumbled remnants of their nightmare. Together, they walked into the light, leaving the past along with its secrets where it belonged. They were ready to face a new dawn, embracing the future with hearts wide open. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will thrill you to your core. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories coming. You won't want to miss out, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let us spark that conversation. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see and feel this conclusion. True fans, this is the moment to show your support.